So, I know that I said in my last video that I might not be making videos, uploading videos during the weekend. But this was, like, an important... This, to me, at least, it seemed like an important video to talk about. And so, I thought that I should just upload it now. Now, it'll be better to upload it now than later. And I guess that I should go to a room with better lighting, so I'll be right back with the rest of the video. So I don't know if this is an area with better lighting, because apparently it, to me right now, the lighting in this video looks a whole lot better than when it probably will when it's done uploading, so I don't know what the problem with that is. But that's why the lighting has been looking bad for these past few videos, because to me they looked good, but somehow after uploading on YouTube they just looked bad. But anyways, back to the subject. I wanted to talk a bit about autism. Mostly because I don't really see much talk about autism within the LGBT plus community, and within anywhere actually. And here comes my cat again. I don't know what her problem is with videos, but apparently she likes jumping up on my lap when I'm making videos. At least recently she has been. But anyways, I don't know if you can hear me good because it's raining outside. But yeah, about autism, like I said, I don't really hear it much anywhere, see much videos. Well, then again, I don't really search for those kind of videos anyways, but I doubt that I'd be able to find much about them if I tried to. But autism is a kind of like an important subject to me, I guess, because I actually suffer with autism. And there's like different forms of autism, and I'll try to find a descriptive link in the to add to the description after this video. I tried finding some earlier today, but I couldn't find any good ones, so I might just try to find so I might just add one of the ones one of the links that I read earlier today. But anyways, like I said, there's different forms of autism, and I actually, suffer with one that's, called, Asperger's syndrome, or some other people also call it, high-functioning autism. Others say that they're both different, while some say that, both are the same. So I guess, it's kind of what your opinion on that is. But, I guess it's really hard, especially because, at least in my opinion, this might be wrong because I'm not other people, but other people, to me, it seems like they don't really know that I have it, and so if I, act a certain way that might be different from other people, you can usually tell by their faces that they think there's something wrong with me, when really it isn't. I mean, some people might think that if they think autism is wrong, but I honestly don't think that it is, because it's just a way you are. I mean, and it's like, you're kind of born with this. I mean, you can't really control it in any way. But, like I said, it's just really an important subject to me, and I guess it's affected my life in a lot of ways, and, the more I've been, thinking about my past a lot, and, lately, and, mostly how I'm different from other people, not just by being LGBT+, but also having autism, I guess, and especially because I've been watching a lot of, not a lot of shows, but I've been watching like a few shows that have or at least mention it in a few episodes, mention the subject, and she's trying to lick my face. Oh. But anyways, silly cat. But, and watching those shows have just made me think about how, autism has, affected me. And it's actually affected me a lot more than I thought it would have. I don't know if I already said that or not, and I apologize if I already said that in this video. But, I guess it's kind of hard to explain. I mean, it might be easier if you have, like, if you know about it, it might be kind of easier, but it's, I don't really know, how many people watch my videos, or how much, knowledge they have on the subject. But, it's like, and I know autism is different for everyone, so I'll try to explain it in the way how it feels towards me, while also trying to be open-minded towards every other people with autism. But like I said, it's different for everyone, so I might not be able to cover what everyone goes through. But with what I go through, at least, it's kind of like I guess you could say it's kind of like living in your own inner world, I guess, if that makes sense. But it's like this whole world that we live in. That's not non-existent to me, but it's just by kind of like living in your kind of like your own world, like I tried to explain a few seconds ago. It's like living in two worlds mostly. What's like the world where which makes more sense to you, and then the world which is kind of like this world, where it's and having like those two worlds just make this one, for example, a lot more not really confusing, although I guess if you compare me with someone who doesn't have autism, then I guess you could say it's more confusing to me than it is to someone who doesn't have it. So I guess in a way it is confusing, but not by much. I guess it's more struggling to the most challenges I noticed I've had with autism is just the whole struggle of, I guess, mostly existing, because there's I not only suffer with autism, I also suffer with depression and I think it's called severe social anxiety, or just social anxiety. But with those three together, it's been kind of really hard to mostly exist with everyone else, because there's so many people who mostly can navigate the world a whole lot better than I can, and it's just, I guess, just makes it really hard, because there's not much ways to connect with people. Like, for example, there was this one time when I think I was about 14, and I went to this, I think I mentioned in one of my past videos that I went to a few counselors in the past before I came out as LGBT+. And this was during that time. I was with a counselor, which I didn't stay with long. This was maybe a bit closer to this was a bit closer to the moment when I discovered I was trans. But yeah, it was around that time, and ever since I was not very little, but still kind of really young, I've always been interested in birds, and I guess the whole anatomy of them, and mostly every aspect of them that makes them different from other species of birds. So I liked so I not really grew up, during that time when I was seeing that counselor, I was really interested in bird watching for a while, but a lot of the people who did bird watching too weren't really my age, because not much 14 to 15-year-olds don't really do bird watching. So it was mostly older people, like maybe about senior age. Like, it's a big significant difference to what to my age, and I guess I remember that my counselor used to actually, I don't know the word, not belittle. So I guess I'll just use belittle for an example now, and I'll probably be thinking about the right word at the end of this video. But she really guess belittled my interest in birds and bird watching, and she made a big deal about how she said something along the words of, kids your age shouldn't be interested in bird watching, and mostly told me that I have to find a new subject to be interested in that kids my age are interested in. But the problem with that is most of the kids, this was when I was still in public school, and the problem with that is when I was in public school, most of the kids, like, you know, like, if you see, like, a cheesy, high school movie, and you'll see how some people might be dressed in, like, really skimpy clothing, some of them might be on their phones a lot, others might be, I guess taking drugs and stuff a lot. That there wasn't, as far as I know, there wasn't like drug taking, and there wasn't any kind of like drug stuff in my school, but there was you kind of get the point. So mostly my elementary school was that I was going to. It was just like a high school mostly, and with people that age, they were also really interested in boys and girls and being in relationships. And I actually did have an ex-friend now who used to talk to me a lot about sex, which has never really been a comfortable subject with me. So yeah, it was just kind of hard to connect with a lot of other kids my age. So to me, it's, if I were to do something that I loved, which was bird watching, still is bird watching. I guess not lately, because I haven't been much I haven't been able to bird watch much lately, but I'd still like to get back into it, or at least try to do some type of research to do with birds. But to me, back then and still now, I didn't mind spending time with people who are much older than me, because in a way, I guess, more mentally we could connect with each other a lot more than say kids my age could and still do. For example, like I still do have like right now I have like a few friends, because because I don't, as I mentioned, like one or two of my videos don't really get out much, but the friends I do have are older than me. And there is one who's around my age, but other than that, it's like the only person my age I could actually connect with in some way. So it's just been, it was really hard, and I guess growing up with that, and also not only birds but animals have also always interested me. In the past, I've actually wanted to be a veterinarian until I found out like how you like cut open the animals and stuff, and I didn't, like, during surgery, I didn't want to do that anymore. But I still have a very high interest in animals. Like, I don't know if you can see it, but here's my tarantula enclosure right here, and I have some beetles that were actually mealworms. So I was supposed to feed my tarantula, but I wanted to keep them. And of course I have my cat and a fish that's in another room. But I've just always been interested in animals, and that was another thing that I couldn't connect with kids my age, because they never really understood my interest in animals, I guess, because, you know, like how there are some people in my age who are interested in animals, but they wasn't, like, to the point on how much I'm interested in them, if that makes sense, which it probably doesn't, because I'm horrible at explaining stuff. But my counselor also, that same counselor actually used to just be really rude about that too, and I used to also, because I've always been horrible talking to people, like you can clearly tell with this video, but also with people face to face, not through making videos. I've always been trouble keeping eye contact, just keeping any kind of conversation with the persons, but I could keep a conversation going with a person if it was with animals, like especially birds. But back then it was my guinea pig, Fafnir, and he actually was my emotional support animal for a while, but he died before I could actually get him certified, and that was a really hard time. I'll make another video about that. I don't want to get too off of subject, but it was clear, at least I don't know if it was to her, but it was clear to like a lot of other people that that I had a much easier time talking about animals, especially my pets, than any other subject. And my counselor, mostly, because I used to talk about my Fafnir a lot, because especially during high stress situations, and just thinking about him always helped. I guess thinking about any of my pets really helps me during high stress situations, or at least certain situations. But my counselor, during the time I was talking about Fafnir, she mostly interrupted me and told me that I shouldn't be talking about him she mostly said something along the words of, "Oh, well, you shouldn't be talking about him anymore, because it's I really wish you won't be talking about him." Okay, so I'm trying to keep my she said, "I wish that you won't. I wish that you wouldn't be talking about your guinea pig as much as you do because it's really starting to bore me. And that really that's the reason why I actually stopped going to her, because not only that and the birds, but she was just in the bird watching stuff. She was just really, she always belittled a lot of the stuff I did. Just, oh, she just sneezed. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. But she was just she was just really horrible as a counselor for me, and it was just really, she just made a hard time even tougher, and I just had to quit seeing her. But, so I guess I did kind of get off subject, even though when I tried not to, but, I was just, it was just really hard, and so, I guess it's still, in a way, kind of hard, because I've also noticed with, watching these shows, as I've mentioned before, how I was watching shows that mentioned or had, autistic people or autistic characters, is that like a lot of the times, like, I don't know if you've seen Good Doctor, and a lot of people who suffer with some type of autism apparently hates the show, or at least those that I heard about hate the show because they say that how he doesn't mostly how he isn't really making it seem how the actor isn't really making a character who has autism, is mostly not making it seem really realistic, I guess. It's kind of they have their different reasons, but it's mostly around that same thought. I don't really know what to call it, and again, I'm sorry for not explaining it good enough, but they really hate the show. But to me, it's actually kind of one of the things which has made me, actually changed that show changed my life in a lot of ways, and more than the show I mentioned, more than the cartoon I mentioned in my last video, because, this show, not only does it have an, autistic character, but the character that the actor does play as, I believe that he does, he resembles me in a lot, in more ways than I can think of, and so mostly I like to think of it as more like a, future me, I guess, because of course he's older. And I also really like it because in the show he's a surgeon, and I'm still interested in it, but not as much. But I actually wanted to I was really interested in becoming a surgeon when I was younger, and I still am in a way, but at the moment I want to become more of a therapist, but I'll explain that more in future videos. But like I said, he's just he really resembles me in a lot of ways, and it's a really nice thing that you don't really get from shows like that. And like I said in the earlier in this video, it's people who are autistic, autism affects them in different ways. So that show isn't maybe a lot of people who are autistic might not be able to connect with that character in that show as much as I do. But I still think it's a nice way to kind of show I don't know what to call it, like an insight on autism people. That's not the word I'm looking for, but I can't think of the word at the moment. But it's just mostly, if you watch the show, then you know like exactly how I feel on a lot of things, especially when it comes to I guess feeling towards people. Not really feeling towards people, but like I don't want to spoil it if anyone hasn't seen it, or if anyone has seen it but hasn't seen recent feed episodes. But there is mostly this one person who he's, I guess I don't really know because I haven't seen the past. I'm kind of binge watching the episodes, so it's kind of hard to remember much of what was going on with them. But there was this one person who he was kind of seeing, and apparently because of certain situations that happened, like I said, I'm not going to try not to spoil much of it, but because of certain situations that happen, he can't, he's been having troubles kind of like finding what exactly he's feeling towards her, and that's kind of what I feel about a lot of people, or at least people I first meet. And especially with him when it comes to touching. Like, for example, if you see like the episodes, and maybe try to find a link to add in the description of a YouTube video that from one of the scenes or something, but he really doesn't like touching, and to me I go through the same thing too, except unlike him, I don't really say or do anything about it because I don't really want to upset people or seem rude, because it has happened before. But like, getting off of topic of that show for a while, I recently read that there's some autistic people, or people who have autism, who mostly seem not self-conceited. It's mostly self-absorbed with themselves mostly, and that's and I guess in a way that could be me too, because even though I might not be self-absorbed with myself, I do know that there are some people, at least in the past when I was in public school, who did think of me that way. And I guess other ways for, like, getting back on the topic, when, I was talking about how it, affects me differently from other people. I've noticed how, I like, mess with my hands a lot. Like, you can't really see in the video, which you could have seen because I was lifting my hands up to kind of show you a few seconds ago, but, most of the times when I'm making videos, I'm normally, like, kind of, like, messing with my hands and rubbing them, and normally that does happen when I'm nervous, and there was in the past when, during really highly stressful situations, I used to scratch so hard that I actually left marks, like, to the point where it was, where it started to bleed. Which, I didn't tear my hands up that bad, but it's just I have, like, really sensitive skin, so it happened easily. But, I stopped that a long time ago, but it's, that's another thing how I noticed, that I noticed about myself, compared to other people who might not have autism, is that I just really, I just do this a lot. And normally, I haven't really found out, any way to explain why, but I have been reading, like, some books about autism lately to get, like, a better insight about, I guess, like, what I have to go with and what others have to go with. And I have read, like, this, I forgot what, it was like a book or a link or something. I'll try to, find information about that to add in the description later. But, it was more kind of, not a grounding thing, it was more, there's, like, a certain word for it, but to keep kind of, like, your thoughts in order. And, like, some people, I read, and I actually did this once during, a really triggering moment, some people do, rock, like, back and forth. And there was a time when I actually did that, and I couldn't talk at all, and I got in trouble with one of my family members because of it, because they thought that I was ignoring them when I wasn't. But, that was not, the reason why I was doing that was a completely different subject to this, so I won't talk about it much on here. But, there are, like, also moments where mostly I find myself, like, clicking my tongue a lot, or, like, or, not really blanking out. I want to call it that. I don't know what to call it, but I have noticed myself that if, like, especially just, kind of any stressful situation, especially when it's, like, in, big public areas, if I don't have my headphones with me, I have noticed that I do, kind of stare off, not at anyone or anything specifically, but mostly I do kind of, like, stare off and mess with my hands even more. And mostly just kind of, stand there to, kind of get my thoughts all in order, because it's, I've noticed that with myself, especially a lot recently, like, when I mentioned, like, how there's, like, this little inner world, and there's, like, this world where we're in right now, it's kind of like where those, with, the thoughts from your own, like, your own world, which mostly, I guess I should have called it your mind this whole time, so I probably sounded weird saying that. But, mostly everything that's going on within your mind is mostly clashes with everything that's going on outside, so if I'm thinking, which I tend to think, like, about 5 million things all at once, which makes it hard to, talk and write a lot, but, when that's happening, and then if I'm in a certain place where in public, like, for example, a grocery store, or maybe a grocery store, like, during the Christmas time, where there's, like, tons of people, and, when the thoughts from my mind, clash mostly with, like, anything from, like, all the colors and lights, and, mostly voices from everyone else, that does I've noticed how I did, like, mostly stood there and rubbed my hands a lot, like I mentioned before. I guess it's just been, it's just kind of hard to, talk about in this video, because, I have, heard, like, a lot of people who think autistic people, or people who, like, go through, like, what I go through, like, what I've mentioned in this video, they think that, mostly it's weird, or it's, mostly, like, people like me are freaks, in a way. And so it's, so I haven't really been able to talk about it much to anyone, let alone in a video like this. But kind of getting back on subject, though, I have noticed that a lot, and I have noticed how, I think this has to do with when I was actually, when I was a baby. I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but I was born, like, no, I might be wrong, but I think I was born 8 months premature. I was a really small baby. I was told I had to wear doll clothes, but, back on subject, when I was growing up, I had a lot of, illnesses, so I was in the hospital a lot. And as I got older, I was still in the hospital a lot, but it got, less and less over time. And there was this time where my mom used to tell me how, I used to have these, sensory problems, where she used to, like, kind of, like, brush my skin lightly with this type of brush. And I have noticed that I do still have, not problems, they're not, I guess I wouldn't really call them problems like that, but I still do have, moments where I do have, problems like that, where, I guess, like, in a sensory overload kind of thing, if you want to call it that. I don't know what to call it, where where I'm, like, really sensitive to certain touches, and so I have to, like, touch, like, a certain thing at the moment, which at the moment might be something smooth or soft, like a certain blanket, but then, I've noticed with cloth it's really hard, because it has to be a certain side of the cloth, so it can't be the back of the cloth, because that might be too rough, but it might not be able, but then it might not be the front or the top of the cloth, because that might be too soft, or might be too rough on that side. So I have noticed that a lot, and that has happened a lot more, but it's, everything that I'm going through, it isn't, like, to the point where it's uncontrollable. Like, I do control it, and I do go through, like, a lot of coping mechanisms, which were meant for my PTSD, which I use for, during high stress situations. So the coping mechanisms do help with, like, with, I guess, the autism in a way, and social anxiety. And, I guess what I've also noticed is that, I have to, like, keep a certain routine. And at the moment, it's kind of hard to explain it at the moment, because, the routine I go through sometimes changes. Especially with, like, going through, like, appointments and for all of my family members a lot. It's just, kind of hard to keep to a certain routine. But I have noticed that, there is a certain routine I have to go through in order to, mostly be convinced that that everything on that day is going to be okay. So I have to keep that specific routine, or else throughout the rest of the day, and I guess throughout the next few weeks, I will be feeling that mostly that the whole world's, not the whole world's going to end, that mostly something bad is going to happen in my life if I don't do that specific routine, or if I skip something or do something wrong in that routine. So there's that I mentioned a lot, and I've noticed how, not really sensitive to them, but I have noticed that with colors, I have been, specifically drawn to colors and numbers a lot, especially with numbers where I have to, like, again, bringing up Good Doctor as an example. There was this time where Sean, the main character, mentioned, especially in the first, episode, where he kind of, like, mentioned how certain memories, he was talking about certain memories from his past, and how he was connecting them with, different, smells. Like, I remember how, one memory, reminded him of burnt food or something. I might be wrong. It was a long time since I saw the first episode. But I've noticed how, it's like with colors, I do tend to, match them with, numbers, not colors. I do tend to match them with certain, numbers, or maybe, certain tastes I may have tasted in the past, and certain smells, and and memories, and there have been times where I do connect like certain numbers with certain people or certain voices I've heard in the past, and certain tastes and feels. So for example, I'm gonna bring my cat's toy here. She likes carrying plushies around her mouth for some reason. She's a dog, but for example, I might so this is really soft, so I might connect the softness to this with a certain number, which I won't be able to do at the moment because I've recently as I paid more attention to this, I've noticed how what I connect numbers with do change a lot constantly. The same thing goes with certain words and certain people, where I connect them with like certain things, just like the numbers. And I have noticed that with going back on the topic of just numbers, I have noticed that throughout, especially when I've been actually learning physics and philosophy a lot in school, and specifically physics a lot more. And I have noticed that since then I have been not really thinking, but I've noticed how there has been like a lot of mathematical equations going on through my mind, which is really, I guess it's kind of weird because I've been horrible at math for a long time, but I've been recently interested in physics and have been, like I said, I've been having like, thinking about a lot of mathematical equations, but it's to the point where it's, where those, where it's like, when I'm thinking about those certain mathematical equations, how they go by so fast, that if I were able to, that if I were to tell you a equation I'm thinking of right now, or if I were to write it down right now, I wouldn't be able to, because that equation would have already been mostly finished within my mind, and I would have been going on to like 5 other mathematical equations within the next few seconds. So it's like, that and thinking a lot, like I mentioned earlier, those two, along with, I guess just thinking about anything in general has made it really harder for me to connect with people, because it's, there's just so much going through my mind, and I guess through, like, others' minds too, that it's just hard to actually talk about one specific thing. Or at least to me, sometimes it is. Sometimes it's to talk about anything. It's hard to talk about anything but one specific thing. I've noticed, I don't know if this has to do with, like, the autism itself, but there has been, I've noticed, certain things, like with my movies, I have them sorted in a certain way, and it's not in alphabetical order, but it kind of is, but, so if it has to be, the desk cases have to be, because it's DVDs, they have to be certain in a certain color, so it's, like, not really, like, inspired by any color code or color wheel, but it's, like, by what's in my mind mostly seems right at that moment. So it's like, which gets hard because I mostly sort my books out the same way, and that makes it hard because mostly the day right after I get bothered by it, and I'll have to change everything all over again, like change how I sorted all the movies and books all over again, which is hard because I do have a lot of movies, but not as much as I do have books. Like these 3 cupboards above me, they're all full of books, and those cupboards, if I open one, there's probably going to be books falling out, because I don't have a big enough bookcase to hold them all in. Where I noticed, that, and there's also certain types of artworks, like, painting and drawing, I will, get rid of them if it's not specifically perfect and, exactly how it was in my mind, or if it's not, yeah, that is, it's, really hard, I guess. And there are certain, I've noticed how, I've been having trouble sleeping a lot. Not because of anything specifically, mostly because of insomnia, but there is, I've noticed how, if I, like, how I listen to certain songs or music here on YouTube, or music playlists on YouTube, but, it gets hard because, sometimes YouTube might, delete those videos, or I might not be able to watch those videos anymore because they'd be, because I'd be told that they're not allowed in my country anymore or something. It's kind of weird, but, in my mind, it makes it even harder to sleep because I need those specific videos in order for me to actually have a good night's sleep, and even, it can be like a full video playing. Like, there's this Doctor Who video I used to watch a lot during school, when I started, homeschool, and that was hard because it had to be the certain song and a certain video that someone here on YouTube made. I think it's still up actually, and I had to listen to that, and it had to be on full screen. It couldn't be on the small screen. It had to be in the completely full screen, and I had to start school right on that second when that song started. I had to start school on a certain time when that song started, and when a certain time that video started, or else I wouldn't be able to do it at all, or I'll have to redo the whole video, to rewind the whole video. I'm going to try to explain something else real quick because time's almost up on my storage space. I have 38 minutes, and the video's now 35 minutes. But I noticed how when I don't do this anymore, but when I was younger, maybe about one of my sister's ages, there was this book I used to read, and I think it was like Scary Canary or something. It was my favorite book, but I noticed how I used to read it a lot, and after having troubles reading that, which I'll explain what the troubles were in a minute, but after having troubles reading that, I've had troubles reading other books, and with that trouble, which it all didn't last long, but the troubles I had with reading books was I had to read it in a certain voice. Like sometimes I read books in certain voices, what I think that character's voice might sound like, and it had to be in that character's certain voice, and I had to read it at a certain speed, and in a certain way that if I mess up one word, whether I'm reading out loud or in my mind, I'll have to restart from the whole page to the whole chapter to the whole book, depending on on the day, depended on the day how bad it affected me. So most of the times it was I had to start like the whole book all over again when I was maybe like to the last page of the book, and so I had and then after that it got harder where after I kind of restarted it, I kind of had to restart it to the very first sentence. I had to get it, that very sentence perfect, or else the whole thing was going to get ruined. And I guess sometimes I still go through that, but it's not as bad, and I try to ignore it a lot because I just want to actually enjoy reading the book instead of forcing myself to read it perfectly. And because time's almost up, 37 minutes left, I'll end it here. And before I end it here, I just want to say that I apologize if you weren't able to hear me, because like I said, it was the rain. It's raining, and so you might hear some rain in the background. And my voice has been like really hoarse since the last half of the video. I have no idea why, but like I said, I apologize again if you weren't able to hear me good in this video. I'll try to fix that later if I notice that there may have been problems hearing me. But anyways, thank you for watching this video if you have, and if you want, make sure to like it if you liked it. You don't have to if you don't want to, because I know my videos are pretty bad. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.